computer.
Hello, hello. This is Spiel des Jahres Special Peace Award winner Ignacy Trzewiczek from Portal Games.
Wow. I don't have props. This is Corey
Totally.
Thompson from Dice Tower Dish, Above Board TV, Rose Gauntlet, etc.
Yeah, for those I got it before he's holding up what looks like an Academy Award, but he won. It's great. And this is the Podfather of Gaming, Stephen Bonacore. You are listening to Board Games Insider, episode 399. 399. And we're recording this on December 9th, 2025. Board Games Insider, powered by Board Game Geek. Gentlemen, the band is back together. I love seeing this. We're almost at the holidays here. Hopefully, we'll get a little relaxation. Nope, we're not because projects are going crazy in my world, and I bet in your worlds as well. So, Ignacy, take us right to what is happening inside of Portal Games.
Before we move to Portal Games, I have a very important update of what's happening right now here at my house. I failed with changing the chair. Our listeners know the story about the chair. So my plan for this podcast is to not move whatsoever, which will be very, very difficult. I'm in a very steady position for the whole hour. So this was
Squeak,
happening at
squeak, 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 squeak. I'm
no,
gonna add the squeaks in for your chair.
I'm not moving today.
Mental note, tell Jake he destroyed Ignacy.
Okay, man.
And as for what's happening at Portal Games, obviously this is a slower period of time because we are in December after all these Black Fridays sales, after all the things that were important at the beginning. So now we are just slowly preparing for the Christmas and holidays. So for all of you who want to get some presents, some gifts for your family and friends, please obviously visit Portal Games website and grab some Bohemian's Age of Galaxy. But on our end, not much happening these days. I'm preparing to record a vlog with the summary of the whole year, with my conclusions, what was good about this year, what was bad about this year. But basically, I'm chilling out after this crazy year. Of course, behind the scenes, there are things that are happening. One container arrived with our next year release, New Army for Hiroshima Hex. We are going to announce in a few days a new product from Portal Games. But basically, I was skiing last week. So I got some free from the work. So basically, amazing time for me, amazing time in the company, preparing for the holidays, and that's it.
Mm.
Very cool. I saw those skiing outdoor snow pictures, and I was not jealous of the cold that you were in.
Yeah,
Not a big skier, but oh man, those pictures were
The
beautiful. I
pictures
need
were
to make it
beautiful.
out to Poland one of these days.
Yep.
So last week was the end of the Stephen Bonacore takes over the Napa House. So we had a fantastic time. I think you're probably going to talk about it more, but we went to an okay restaurant at the end of the trip.
I'll mention it.
Um, then last night, I was a guest on the Full 42 discussion video podcast with Chris Strain and Mike Gugliano, good friends. And we talked about board games of all sorts. The topic that they threw at me was best trick-taking games. And once again, I got in trouble for equating trick-taking games, ladder climbing games, and shedding games.
I think, I tease you a lot about that, but you're basically correct. They're all in the bigger genre of
We're
trick
recording
taking.
this, right?
Yeah, yes, I have actually
Oh,
said Corey is right.
geez. Wow.
I think you're right. Go ahead. I'm sorry to
I had a
interrupt.
fantastic time with it. Take a look at it. We just talked about all sorts of things, board games. It was really fun. Um, and I've played a couple big titles that I picked up from Essen that I'm really impressed with. I played Druids of Edora, which is the new title from Stefan Feld, and I have to say it's a return of classic, really good Feld. It has Castles of Burgundy feel to it. I really liked it a lot. Um, Fantastic game. And I don't think it got much hype. I don't think many people realized it came out. It kind of snuck out of nowhere. Um, I also played 10B, which was one of the really big, really hyped games from Essen, sold out immediately at Essen. And it's a really clever, create a street, match all the different things, how many birds are on your street, how many garbage cans are on your street, how many lampposts are on your street. Enjoyed it. Very good game. Upcoming, there's travel upon travel upon travel, but right now we're at the slow time. January, February, not much is going on.
Not for everybody, but go ahead.
Not for everybody. So, I've got a group coming to the house. We're gonna have a New Year's Shiloh Con. Have a bunch of gamers over and just have some fun. And then I'm going to be heading to Seattle in February to visit a bunch of friends. Uh, After which, Gamma Expo, and one that I'm really excited about is LariaCon in Portugal, right on the coast. So that'll be a really fun time. That's getting into March already. So, oh, lots of travel ahead.
Okay. We'll throw that gauntlet down in a second, but the Podfather, as Corey said, was over there at his house and got, thank you, Corey, again for the hospitality. It was so much fun being there. Great friends, even Travis Worthington, on his best behavior. No, he's really a good guy.
I
He's
had
just
a
very
really
different.
good
Yep.
time. We had a great visit and played really good games. Travis was fantastic.
He was fantastic. He was a very different kind of person than me, but when he's chill and he's relaxed, we all had a great time. Travis, Maggie, she's so awesome. Paula and I, just great. Visit some wineries, and of course the final part of the trip was going to French Laundry, which is a three Michelin star restaurant. Unbelievably good. What an experience. This is Thomas Keller's signature restaurant. In America, maybe it's that and Per Se in New York are his two biggest, and they're all both three Michelin stars. I've never been to Per Se. Um, but it was amazing. I mean, it was elegant, but friendly. That's so interesting, that combination that, you think it would be snooty, right? I mean, that's the obviously, right? You have to wear a jacket and a tie. Women, everyone's got to dress up a bit. Um, but my impression really was this is going to be like, ultra snooty. Now the food was snooty, but that doesn't count. The food is part of is your experience. But I just got to say how great of a time that we had. Thank you, Corey, for arranging all of that
I
stuff.
love going there. And like
Yeah.
you said, they are so friendly and welcoming and goofy and easygoing.
Yeah, they really are. They really, really are. So there's a 3 week period that I'm home. I'll be like uh, 2 weeks from today, a week after basically that you hear this. I'll be in New Jersey with family again, seeing mom, seeing my brothers for Christmas. So that's going to be an amazing, fun time. Hopefully, relaxing a bit. And while Corey is in low travel mode, that is not the case for me because I will have a couple of weeks after that, like 2 weeks after that or so. I'm going to be traveling down to New Orleans for a private event, a friend having a thing in New Orleans, and then once I get back, oh my God, Corey, you have nothing you going on in February. You said, why don't you come to Australia and New Zealand with me?
Yeah, no problem. I'll just head
Yeah,
out there.
we're gonna be there. Well, I'll talk about that trip later because it's too far off to talk about. But yeah, we're gonna be in Australia, New Zealand, cruising slash land for the entire month of February plus the end of January. So
Man,
gonna
that
be
sounds great.
gonna be amazing. So Hobbiton, here I come. Awesome stuff. Um, I do want to make that quick shout out that I've been making because this opportunity is closing, and what a great time to consider this as a Christmas, Hanukkah present, holiday present for you and your significant other. Why don't you come on Podfather the Cruise 3, going through the Panama Canal, a full transit of the Panama Canal. Considered a once in a lifetime event. I literally just emailed Mary as we were getting ready to start the show. Ignacy is now going to hear from his wife about trying to get, wanting to go on this cruise because Mary likes to travel
Do,
and Ignacy does not.
do you want to have some insider information about this?
Sure.
Number one top trending TV show in Poland this month
Is
is a drama about the biggest sinking of the ship that happened in 90s. Is a 6 episodes drama, lots of people dying, ship is sinking. I was terrified for the whole 6 evenings.
That was a small vessel. It had 50 people on it. This one has thousands of people on it. These things they can't sink. I mean, the Titanic sunk, but that was in the early 19. Anyway,
I was
Mary,
terrified watching this TV show.
Mary's going to get to you. Anyway, if anybody else wants to find out about it, the window's closing because they're gonna cut off anybody. It was about 50 or so people going to be coming, so it's going to be intimate. It's going to be great. It's April 25th through May 5th, 2026, and you can find out all the information on Qwyx.events, QWYX.events. That's Jeff Anderson's website for all of the things he runs. And now, the event deck. All right, what do we have here? Light News Week, which is very interesting. And the first thing is business news. It's about importers, U.S. importers, are going to be seeking tariff refunds if the Supreme Court rules that the tariffs were illegal. From ICV2, some importers have already begun taking steps to seek refunds of tariffs paid to bring imports into the U.S. in the event the tariffs have been ruled illegal, which appears to be a possible outcome of the cases currently in deliberations at the U.S. Supreme Court. Suits to recover tariffs paid have been filed in federal court by Costco, big importer, right? Revlon Consumer Products, Kawasaki, Bumblebee Foods, and automotive supplier Vallejo North America, according to the New York Times. Other companies, especially smaller ones, have filed appeals with Customs and Border Protection or sold their rights to future refunds to hedge and distressed debt funds, according to the report. That's a very interesting end of that. So if the tariffs are ruled illegal by the Supreme Court, and I absolutely hope that they are, everybody is going to be able to get their money back. But the suits are being pushed by the big boys, but even smaller companies are selling their rights to get the money back to certain hedge funds, for pennies on the dollar kind of thing. Do you understand what I'm trying to say by that, guys?
Yeah.
Right? So they may have the right in the future to reclaim the money, but they're trading them for 30 cents approximately or less on the dollar so that they can get the money, that little bit of money out. And then if these things are overturned, it's sort of like a bet. I'm you know what? I'm just gonna take
I
my
was
money back
thinking
and
this
they'll bet.
sounds a lot like gambling.
Well, this kind of thing is a gamble, of course, if you're going to sell your rights away and just take some money up front. So that's just very interesting news on the tariff front. What do we have here now? We have Board Game Wire. Our friends out there did a lovely, lovely interview with our friend Candice Harris. Now, if you guys should know Candice Harris, she is the BGG podcast host, which she has done, I believe, weekly for Board Game Geek. But she's leaving Board Game Geek. And they did a very long and detailed article on her, which includes a lot of her historical wargaming background, which I think is amazing, that she's part of that.
Yeah, she's been one of the forefront people for really traditional war games in board game media, and she's brought I think, new life to it. She's also started to do some work and some marketing for GMT Games, which is one of the big companies involved in wargaming.
That's amazing.
Should say that Candice has left the BGG podcast. It's now being hosted by Amanda Panda.
Oh, that's great. Good luck to Amanda, another good friend of ours. Any other items that you got out of this? I love the fact that she's actually going to have a touch point with the arguably or maybe inarguably the largest war game manufacturer, GMT. Any?
The other thing I'm really excited about is she's starting her own channel now called Kicking It Creative. Candice is one of the most energetic, charismatic people that I know, both in music and in board games. And she's going to have this compilation, new YouTube channel that she's going to put videos out on covering all of her interests. And I can only imagine how much energy is going to be packed into that. So it's not quite live yet, other than title. The first articles, the first videos, I think are going to come out this week or next week. So kicking it creative.
Very, very cool. I think that's, it's funny. Very, very low news week. At the end of the year, we often get that. People are gearing up for their new stuff. So we'll be able to take more questions. So let's get directly to strategy and tactics. Ignacy, guess what? We had to save a whole bunch of questions that were asked just for you. So
Yeah, Steven and I are going to go out and see a movie or something.
yeah, you want to, yeah.
All
Let's
you,
go.
here's the keys. Just go for it.
I'm getting hungry. I didn't even eat breakfast. So why don't we
There
get
you
I
go.
some?
need somebody to read them.
I got it for you. Don't worry, I got it for you. So it's Timo Boradam from the Netherlands. He's at Timo B. Question for Ignacy. By the way, September 10th, and wait till you hear how close we are to today's date by the time we get to the end of these questions. I came across the announcement of the Dutch version of Bohemians. My question is, what kind of deals do you or other companies make with language partners? Is it a big sum total? Do you get a percentage per game sold? Or is it only their part of the cost of production? From a financial point of view, does it matter in which language it's sold? Is sold for Jasper? I don't understand that. Is Jasper the company maybe?
Jasper is a designer of the game. He's
Oh,
asking how much designer will get.
okay. Oh, is it the same royalties for each copy of the game? So, Ignacy, this is a big question, and you're not going to give us specific details, but you can explain a little bit about how a localization deal works, which we have talked about, but new listeners. So, tell us a little bit about maybe this game in general, but other localization type deals. Every contract's different.
Uh, Absolutely. So basically, we have two different types of contracts in the industry. One contract is royalty. For instance, this is how Zeman Games back then did Robinson Crusoe with me. They get the full rights for Robinson Crusoe. They were printing it by themselves, and I was paid just a royalty. So this is one part of the contract. The other part of the contract, most common these days in the industry, is that the local publisher is buying from me, for instance, 10,000 copies of Dutch edition. And on these 1,000 copies of Dutch edition, I will have my margin as a owner of the rights. So this is the most common contract these days. So basically, this Dutch company will buy from me the whole stock for the Dutch copies, and I will get some money of that. And for the Jasper, designer of the game, and for of course this is a general situation, they will get royalties from the money I get from selling the game. So if I sold 1,000 copies of the Dutch edition, Jasper will get some percentage of this income I got. For Jasper, another designer, Richard Garfield as well, or Matt Leacock, obviously it doesn't matter if this was Dutch edition, French edition, German edition, because of course they will get the percent of each copy sold. In a super rare situation, there may be a little bit different price. For instance, the Dutch publisher will buy the game for, I'm making it up, for $5, and the French edition will be bought for €4, for instance. Yes, because of the different negotiations. Jasper is getting his percentage, so he will get a little bit different because of the percentage. But basically, designer doesn't care if his money is coming from French, German, or Dutch. He gets his percent anyway.
Right. And a couple things to point out. Every contract is different. Sometimes it's extraordinarily transparent, which is the way I like to deal. That we have cost of the game, right? That's just part of the money that goes through the manufacturer in China, and then there'll be the licensing fee on top of that Ignacy gets in this case, and then Jasper is going to get a portion of that money. Forget
Right.
about the percentages. They're not relevant, and they're different between every designer. So, but that's generally how it all works. All right. And now we got Peter Harrelson. He's at Pops.
So can
Back.
I just because
Oh,
let's get a little bit once again
yeah.
to because
Yeah.
we want to teach and we want to educate. So the news that we are spreading around, for instance, as our success story that Bohemians is licensed to 12 different languages in France, in Spain, in Italy.
Excellent.
This success is super good for the designer himself. Like, of course, it's a great success story for Portal Games that we have a game that is released in whole Europe. Of course, Portal Games making a lot of money by printing these Italian, German, French, Spanish, etc., languages. But it's also a great success of Jasper because from every single copy he will get. So designers prefer to work with the company that has potential to then release the game in many languages because it increases the volume significantly from only English edition to suddenly to 12 different editions.
Very, very good. And right. And the more editions that you can print together, the lower that cost of each unit is going to be to the publisher. So they can make extra money too. So it's more attractive to them if you can offer them a good price. That has to get paid to the manufacturer. So great answer. Thank you, Ignacy. We have Peter Harrelson. He's at Pops, and it's a question for Ignacy, but all of us as well. What's your relation to home computers? Like you mean like the ones I'm sitting in front of right now? I played tons of board games and role-playing games when I was in my preteens and teens during the 80s and early 90s, but I also played a lot of games on my Commodore 64. Wow. And later, Amiga. My favorite games were Infiltrator on the C64 and Secret of Monkey Island on the
That was a
Amiga.
great one.
I, I I cannot relate, sadly, but I've
I
heard of
was
them.
very heavily in the Amiga community in the 80s and 90s.
Very cool. Yes, I was a total geek. I'm particularly interested in Ignacy's answer because I don't know what it was like behind the Iron Curtain regarding home computers or board games in general, for that matter. So, Ignacy, would you be preteens, teens in the 80s and 90s? I can't do the math in my head. When were you a teenager?
I'm a 76. I was born. So in 80s I was 10 years. So yes, I was able to
Yeah.
play.
Yeah, so 80s, and 90s, you were in the preteens, teen era, so you're
Yeah.
kind of the same age as Peter. So what was your relationship to personal computers? Now, these were really game console type things. I mean, I don't think I would never consider a C64 a personal computer, but some people do.
Oh, it was totally a personal computer.
I don't want,
It's
I,
okay.
I don't want to bore our listeners with some stories from behind the curtain. But if Peter is asking just a short story. So we
Yeah,
are in 80s. We are in 80s. Of course, we are in the Russian bloc, and the common thing that was happening, especially in Silesia when I was growing up. A lot of people were going to Germany for illegal work to get some money and then go back behind the Russian curtain once again back. So my father
wow.
was one of these people. So he, went for 2 or 3 months to Germany, worked there illegally to get some Deutschmark and bring this Deutschmark to Poland. And these 2 or 3 months of his work was making for us like a year of living because of the currency difference. So during one of these trips, he brought Atari 2600, the one of the first playing
Right,
consoles.
right.
So that was one of the consoles, probably only one in the whole few cities around my city. So like I was a star. Like everybody was my friend back then. It's because I had this magical item that is like a computer. So of course there was a lot of gaming in my home. There was lots of people in our home for the whole day playing on this console. And then I had Atari 800 XL. And then in the 90s, I had a IBM PC, but then in high school, we were already in a free country and without Russians, and we got the free market and PCs, and I was playing a lot. And of course, in high school, I played a lot on video games before I discovered role-playing games. So yes, I had from the very early days playing video console, but just because my father was illegally working in Germany.
You were a superstar for your friends with
Yep.
those cartridge games for the Atari
Yep.
2600. Corey, what's
Oh
I
yeah.
my brother had one. I played a little bit on it. I like the more
So
sophisticated games. What
I,
did you do with the
I just want to
Amiga?
say the Commodore 64 and the Amiga were definitely personal computers. They were a good
Mm.
alternative to the IBM PC, which was too expensive and hard to get in those days. Apple was still in between Apple II and Macintosh. And I'll say that everybody of my generation who had one of those computers primarily used it for video games. Computer games were huge, but Amigas were incredibly popular in multimedia and Hollywood. A lot of television shows and movies were driven by Amiga. Babylon 5 was completely done on Amiga.
True.
See,
Yeah, I
Sequest
remember that.
DSV. This was a business computer. It had a lot of business
Yeah.
applications, and the Commodore 64 also was in a lot of home businesses. The business software for Commodore 64 was incredibly popular. So it wasn't just a game machine, although everybody in my generation pretty much just played games on it, just like IBM's. I had a weird upbringing in that I had a computer in my house from as early as I can remember, from the early 1970s, because Dad, worked in computers and I had access to mainframe computing and played a lot of games on mainframe computing. But yeah, the Amiga was really a high point for me when I was in college, and I was involved in a lot of Amiga stuff. Went to conventions, game to GDC in San Francisco. Had a lot of friends who worked within the Amiga community, and I was involved in uh, both legitimate and not legitimate means, but played a ton of video games in it.
Yeah.
So I had a weird story with it.
For me, I had the 2600 I had, or my brother had it, and he
Yep.
played more basic kind of games. I mean, I have pretty big difference between my brother. My youngest brother is 11 years younger. Second one would be 7 years younger. So they played a lot on that. And I played a little bit. I played like the Dungeon. It was like a really good one. You had to really think like, how are you going to outsmart the way the dungeon worked. But then when I got a real computer, yes, the Amiga. I don't have a lot of experience. I have no experience with the Amiga, and I do remember that the Amiga was
It was
used.
more powerful than the
Ama-
PC in the 80s.
im-
It was the first true multitasking computer. Macintosh just switched off processes.
I'll have to. Well, I'm not going to bother doing the research on that. But I had an Apple II Plus. Was my first like real home computer with dual floppy drives and then I started playing some really cool stuff. And I then used it a little bit for school at the time. And then of course got into in school we had IBM
I
PCs.
I used my Amiga in college for all of my college courses, writing notes, photo typesetting, word processing, every business application you can think of, I used my Amiga for.
Corey is far ahead of all of us, obviously. Well,
No, no, no.
with a dad like Ken, that makes a lot of sense.
Mostly played games.
There you go. Yeah. Mostly these things were for playing games. Eric Langenbach, always a great contributor. Thank you, Eric. From Sweden at Logness. Question for Ignacy. Since he's the one sitting with the actual numbers, now you have had some games on Board Game Arena for some time. Is there an increase in physical sales of the games you have there that you can point to a graph? Can you graph like this with the help of your financial advisor, Stephen Bonacor, and say that the BGA effect, the Board Game Arena effect, there is a Board Game Arena effect or not? I know many people say that they buy board games because they have tried them on BGA, but it's not a great indication because people are not going to post that they didn't buy a game because it was on BGA, right? So yeah, so you can't tell one direction, but you can tell a little bit in the other. Is the main reason to get a game on BGA marketing for the physical product, or is it because BGA can provide a revenue for the game on its own? Spill the beans, he says. What's the story, Ignacy?
The short answer is no. I have not noticed the increase of the sales, but now we have to unpack this
Mm-hmm.
answer. So I have now two games officially released at the Board Game Arena. That is Imperial Settlers and 51st State. Bohemians and Imperial Miners are still in the beta phase.
Hmm.
Both these games, Imperial Settlers and 51st State, are not like a super big popular games. Like if you go to the Board Game Arena, you see people playing Ark Nova, playing, of course, Terraforming Mars, playing all these big hits, the Imperial Settlers and 51st State. I love them, but these are no longer the major hits. So the percentage of players are playing these two games is probably not enough for me to see that it actually makes these bigger sales. So I have not noticed the more orders of these games from the distribution. I have not sold more copies in this window compared to the last year. So I don't see it. But once again, I believe that if you ask the same question to Feuerland, who is doing Ark Nova, or
Yeah.
to Indie Bros and Press who make Terraforming Mars, I guess they see that there is so many people playing and discovering Ark
No.
Nova that they are buying. I myself, as a Ignacy Trzewiczek, a gamer, I played a couple of games on Board Game Arena that I bought physical copies. Like literally it happened. I played on Board Game Arena. I liked the game. I wanted to play in a physical version with my wife Mary. So I bought. So it is happening. But my numbers are too low to see this actually in a bigger picture.
Right. And you wouldn't know if the sale came because they played it or because they just found out about it.
Mm.
Sales trends are hard to follow. I mean, yes, the
If
sales went up a little bit, but because you
if there
promoted
is
it.
some affiliation link, if there is a chance that you are playing
Yeah.
on Board Game Arena, then you can have some dedicated discount. Go to the dedicated web store because you just played the game. Maybe you would be able to get this data. But in general, if I'm looking at my numbers of distribution, I have not seen a peak in this past quarter.
Mhm. Very good answer. Thank you. We go now to non-Ignacy questions. We can actually jump in here. Christine McCullough, who's at Woogies and a very good friend of mine and Corey's, asking this on September 29th. Do game developers take into account the disability for colorblindness in game design? What about other disabilities? I saw somewhere that more games are coming out for the blind. In my workplace, we have a lot of deaf people. I have issues with too busy of a board that's too busy, and games where we need to buy a card and it's on the other side of the table from where I sit, and it affects my ability to build a strategy. So that there's a bunch of things in there. So let's unpack color blindness. This is something that we as game publishers have thought about for quite a while, and the graphic designers know this very well now. So we're
I'd say that's
absolutely
very heavily covered.
right. That's very
And
heavily covered. Go
I
ahead,
can
Corey.
speak a little bit to games for the blind. There are a whole bunch of avenues out there that are becoming more and more popular. One of the big ones is actually an Icelandic company that I'm friends with called Retinade. That is a system that uses cell phones where you can scan your card or what you're looking at or some part of the game, and it'll speak it out and tell you what it is. And they've been working for quite a while and doing really remarkable things to make board games more accessible for the blind. There's also Lighthouse, which is a charity organization for the blind, and one of the big contributors to that is Boppet and Dan Klitzner, which is the most popular game for the sight impaired community. So I think people are aware of it. I don't know that your average board game is going to design with visual impairment in mind, other
Right.
than don't make the symbols too small, try to make everything visible, try to make everything contrasty, try to make it clear.
Sure.
But you definitely have a lot of games out there that are aware of it. The most famous one is there's the board game Nyctophobia, which is a game originally designed by a fairly young woman who designed it for a relative who was blind. And Nyctophobia is a horror story. You are lost in a maze and being hunted down by a serial killer, and you play by feel. The board is all tactile, and you can feel where you are and where the maze is. And the serial killer is the only sighted person in the game who has that advantage.
Yeah,
So,
I've played that game and it's very interesting. You play with a blindfold on,
oh, it's
and
horrifying.
it,
It's the
yeah,
the visceral terror playing it is really incredible.
right. And you like, okay, you put your finger in a certain place, and then is there a wall there? You push into it. If there's no wall, you can move to another place. It is terrifying. Um, Obviously the market is very very small for this, so publishers are not gonna en masse come out with games like this. But the fact that some exist is very very cool, I think.
Yeah, it was designed by Catherine Stipple,
Right.
2018
Right.
Pandasaurus.
Very, very cool. Thanks for that shout out. And then just as a quick note on her thing about a too busy board, that's a function of graphic design. Some boards are going to, by definition, be busy. Vitalisera games, there's just so much going on that they're going to be busy on some level. So you hope that the graphic designer can at least make them as useful as possible. And where cards sit, I mean, there's no way that we can take a card and make it visible in the same way to every person on the table. If it's really important to you, then you'll have to sit closer to that side of the table. It's no other way. Christine continued with another question. And this one is interestingly complicated. So let me unpack this and we can get into it a little bit. She asks, I need advice on playing a new game. It takes 30 to 60 minutes to learn the rules. A big game she's talking about, obviously. And then 3 hours to play the game. Definitely a big game. And I'm notorious for trying to determine strategies. First, other players have already moved on to the next step of their strategies before I've gotten to the first step. And then second, I figure out a strategy and there are 2 rounds left. So I'm not a sore loser. If I am next to last, it's like winning a game. If I win, I'm shocked. How do you figure out your strategies for the first time you play a game or later? Do you ask? I do ask for people to talk about the game after it's being played and what they were thinking and how did I miss things that they did well. So this comes to a philosophy, I think, on how to play games in general, casually. And I play games casually unless I'm playing more competitively in a competitive environment. Guys, do you have any comments on the ways that you form strategies for a first time play, or is it more the same thing, just learn as you go?
I think we've talked about it a lot. I tend to be what I call an exploratory player. I don't play to win, especially the first several times I play a game. I play to explore the mechanisms and what's involved. I'll do strategies that I feel like, this isn't a winning strategy, but man, it's going to be pretty cool to do A, B, and C. And I'll explore out how the game works. And I think there's definitely three big kinds of gamers out there, and people will mix. There's players who play like me to explore the structure of the game. There's players whose joy in the game is in the winning and they play to win, even if it involves a very boring strategy move back and forth and back and forth, but that gives me the most points. And then there's people who play board games to be social. It's a an excuse to have people around the table have conversations, and just be very social. Those are to me the three big categories, and I'm
Right,
definitely in the exploratory side.
right.
So.
Ignacy, do you have any kind of strategy to create a strategy, or do you care during a first play? I mean, what's your feel for like getting into a game?
I'm very sorry, but I have to confirm and repeat everything that Corey said. So nothing new, no
Oh,
new value
sorry.
in the podcast.
Nothing new.
Uh, I'm exactly the same person. I look at the board and say, "Oh, these tokens look cool. I will try to collect them,"
Yeah,
and that's how I play. And
yeah,
then on the go, I will learn how the game
yeah,
works and what was important and whatever.
yeah,
Here at home, when I play with Meryl, of course, we have our home rules, and our home rule is that in many, especially Euro games, we don't even for the first game read the winning condition. We just play the game, and then at the end we will figure out who won the game. It just learn and
yeah.
have fun and
I like
flow.
that.
So I'm not thinking about a learning strategy in the first games. Absolutely not.
Right, right. I got to reiterate and amplify that I think there are too many gamers, and I think Christine is in this category, but it's not a this is not a knock, Christine. You know how much We love you. Relax. Just play the game to have fun, especially early on when I don't know what's
But
going
this is
on.
no, this is different because I had a ton of discussions on this very
Okay.
topic. I had a ton of discussion in my life. So I'm the person that we put the board on the table and we play. Like I don't care about the rules. Like I just okay, we figure it out. This is my type of playing because I don't care if I win. I just want to discover, learn. Let's play. And I have so many other gamers who have this blockade. They cannot start the game without knowing the rules. And for me, it is uncomfortable to listen for 1 hour rules. This is for me the dreadful moment. For them, it's a dreadful moment to play the game without knowing the rules. And we have to appreciate our
Yeah.
different approach and
Right.
what we need in our life.
True.
So for me, if somebody is teaching the rules, I'm not listening to him anyway. Like I don't care. Like let him talk.
I, I'm a
Because I
little
just
worried.
go, yes, because I go with the flow anyway.
Okay.
But I respect and
I
understand people who have this blockade that he cannot make a move without understanding the whole rules. This is not my type
I'm
of
kind of like
playing.
that. I I get very frustrated if I don't know the rules or if I play the game wrong. So I do feel like I need to understand the whole game before playing.
Yeah, my thesis is it
So
is impossible. So when I have these arguments with people at the convention, at the gaming club, I say, I will explain you now the rules of the stronghold. I trust me, you will not understand 50% of what I said because you have not played the game. So why you want me to talk to you for 1 hour? So this is my statement in this situation. After hearing the rules without playing the game, you will not understand it anyway. But of course, this is another point of view that says, Ignacio, you're wrong. And I appreciate it, I understand it, but this is a different point of view.
Right. I mean,
I
all
do
of
want
these.
to
Yeah, go ahead.
I do want to touch on really briefly. Christine brought up what I usually call the post-mortem, which I love. It's after you play a game. I absolutely love discussing, oh, what happened here and what happened there, and what were you thinking when you did this? I love that thought process. And I play so many new games that I really enjoy having this after time to say,
Hmm.
oh, that game was cool. It reminds me of this. And did you catch that? And this is very similar to this. And that discussion afterwards is really important to me. That's a good one.
Agreed. And that's a way that, you could just get everyone's opinions back on it. And then, Christine, you could add to the strategy thoughts in your head for your next play. We're going to take one more question for a couple of reasons. It's quick. And secondly, this gentleman at Mr. underscore lunch, he maybe has the best BGG name ever. It's Geek Down Under from Australia, but it's not spelled that way. It's literally the characters are upside down. I'm looking at it and I'm like, that's wild. I don't know how he did that. It's obviously a
The,
font that he could
the
use.
normal ASCII font set has room for all of these weird characters, and some of them are in other languages, and some of them, like the G in geek, is a Russian character.
Oh, I don't know what he did. I love Geek Down Under at Mr. underscore lunch. You win I might even main the episode after this. I just love this thing. Anyway, Geek Down Under asks, which calendar month has the fewest game conventions for you folks? Which month crams the most? And is there anywhere in the world you would love to visit for a game con? Ignacio's answer is, I don't want to go to cons, of course, but let's start with Corey. Corey,
Oh
what's your
man,
answer?
I think the slowest month is January.
Correct.
Um, there's really no conventions to speak of in January. February's getting busy, March is getting busy. I think the busiest is probably March for me, which is unusual because you usually think of summer as being the busiest time. Uh,
Yeah.
Anywhere in the world? Oh, I have no idea. I'm very excited about going to Portugal. Um,
There you go.
but
Lyricon.
yeah, I don't know. It
Yes.
it then just begs the question of what country would I like to go
Yeah.
to,
Right.
uh, and hope that there's a game convention there.
Yep. Yeah. So after PAX ends, and we didn't have a PAX until a few years ago, right? Only 6 years ago, 7 years ago, PAX unplugged.
2017.
2017,
2017.
PAX started. I was still,
Yep.
working at Stronghold. I had to split the squad and do BGG Con. I did that, and my staff did PAX Unplugged in Philadelphia.
And
And
your person, I don't remember her name. I'm so sorry, but your person at the booth saved my booth with some pallet mess. There was some problem. She yelled at some person. I mean, she was crazy awesome. Saved my ass
and
in Philadelphia.
and
Sorry,
that
I
would
don't
have.
remember name, but it was years ago.
I will give her a shout out. I don't even know if she listens anymore. She's a lovely person. Her name is Cynthia Tuck. And Cynthia took
Yeah.
a cardboard stand up of Stephen Bonacore and put it in the booth. And people were taking pictures with it. People were doing some rude things with it too. We'll not go down that road again, but it was great.
I
Um,
know a couple people who own one of those life-size stand-up.
anyway, very quickly, the calendar months that are before PAX, it was December, January, February. Now we have, let's call it the holiday portion of December in January. In February, I don't know if there's anything really going on anyplace either. March then kicks it off with Dice Tower West, Gamma Expo. It's huge for the industry. And then we continue on from there. So thank you, Geek Down Under. Appreciate it. We need to move on to play testing. All right, last week, as usual, Corey, you gave us a great question. What was that question that you gave us?
So I asked, what is your first instinct when you hear a board game has an IP attached to it? Years ago, IP games came with a negative stigma. You'd look at it and go, ooh, IP. Ugh. Is that still true? Or have times changed and now IP games are generally as good as any game?
Right. Ignacio, what do you weren't here last week. Just one quick. What would you say for an IP game? Does it have a stigma attached
My
or
yes,
are they
my
as good as
intuition
anything?
would Yes, my intuition would be that the things changed and now it's no longer the stigma. Like you, and I was discussing with that at Polish convention at the seminar. So back then, the game industry, our industry, was very small. So only mass market games get this IP, and there was not designer games. Now, because our print runs are bigger, now these hobby studios still can print a lot of games. So now they can buy these IPs, the rights for the IPs, but these are games designed by designers like Rob Daviau, Eric Lang, Ignacy Trzewiczek, and others.
Right.
So you suddenly have these great games with IP. So
Right.
if you move back to these 5, maybe even 10 years already,
Mm-hmm.
we have brilliant IPs on the games.
That's exactly what Corey and my answer was last week. So you're right there in line with us. Let's take some answers from our guild. Glenn Slagle, he's a power trout. It's certainly better than it was. I wonder if weight plays into it, like making a complex thematic experience might lend itself to taking the product seriously and doing deeper development work, as opposed to a rushed roll and move money grab with pasted on movie stills. I think Glenn, I think you're saying that's sort of the way we had it. And
Yeah,
now
there's
we
there's
have the
still
serious stuff.
some games
I'm
like
sure
that.
there is. Right.
We
So,
still have some light games with pasted on,
yep,
but
sure. Anything?
Jay Atkinson, I think, summed it up really well. This is at Doxa Logos. It's more wait and see now instead
Oh,
of
okay.
forget about it. Because overall, I believe IP games have improved because overall game design has improved. Some of my favorite games are IP games: Dune Imperium, Star Trek Captain's Chair, Star
Yeah,
Wars Outer Rim and Rebellion, Marvel Champions, and Lord of the Rings: Fate of the Fellowship.
very
I
cool.
think the pre-Asmodee Fantasy Flight games set the standard with doing great design with IP games, especially when Corey Konitska and Nate French were on board. So,
I
Very,
have a
very.
very interesting answer from Jacob Stein. He said, "Oh, that's too bad. Could have been something unique. We specifically do not buy IP-based games. I know many are good now. It simply isn't appealing. I love Lord of the Rings. Own zero games with that IP. This is for me an absolutely shocking answer. So, Jacob, you put Ignacy in a shock. For me, if I have to choose a random average fantasy." or Lord of the Rings. Obviously, Lord of the Rings will give me more enjoyment, more fun because I have all the background information. I know who's Aragorn, I know who's Gandalf, I know who's Frodo, and I have so much more joy than
Yeah.
some average random fantasy that I know nothing about. So last weekend, I played the World of the Ring with my friend here in Poland, and we have a blast. And he's a great storyteller, my friend. So almost every after card, he was telling story how Aragorn is missing, he's going there, and he was telling all the story because we knew IP. So Jacob, I disagree with you. Like this IP gives so much more joy if you
Yeah.
know
The
the
the part
story.
of his answer I find really unbelievable is that he owns zero Lord of the Rings games. You can't throw a rock without hitting a Lord of the Rings game. There's so many of them out there now.
Right. And and they're good. I mean, for the most part, they're
Oh, then
really, really good.
yeah, the new slew of them are terrific.
Right. Maxwell Bachman Whitney says, if it is an IP I love, I am very excited. Otherwise, I could care less. I certainly will never spend money on a remake of a game because it was reskinned with an IP. So sure, but that's not really the question we're asking. We're asking, are IP games better now than they were? And I think we all say they are, but the audience is sort of mixed on it a little bit, or maybe they're just
I
saying, I
I
don't
disagree.
care.
I think the audience says that IP games have improved, but they're still wary.
Okay,
It's
that's
gone, yeah. Patrick
Guys,
Zock, I'd
guys,
agree.
let's have a guts. Let's have a guts. Let's say audience is wrong.
no, no.
I agree. I think the viewer is wrong. They know nothing.
No, no, no. I mean, and Valentine Cretin says, "Is it a good game first, then a good IP game?" I mean, he basically is. He's saying the right things. I mean, he's gonna check the game out, and is it a good game? Well, then does
Yeah.
the IP make sense on it? That makes sense in the general context of this.
Patrick Zock had an answer I really liked. If it's an IP I love, I grow fearful. Will it ruin my love of the IP with bad implementation, or will it leverage the IP to elevate gameplay? If it's an IP I've seen hundreds of times in games, yawn. I have
Right.
more Marvel, DC, Lord of the Rings, Star Wars than I can shake a dice cup at. If it's an IP I know but have not yet seen in a game, I'll take a look. I've
Yeah.
been surprised several times by how the game brings a new IP to life. And this really is the gamble of an IP.
Right.
You're going to get more eyes, more people looking at it. It's instantly going to have scrutiny,
Yeah.
but it's going to polarize. It's either going to be amazing or terrible. And there's almost no middle ground.
I want to disagree with one more of our listeners. Steven just answered the comment of Valentin Creton from France. I disagree with Valentin. So the statement was, is it a good game first, then a good IP game? I disagree. So for instance, I am a huge fan of Warhammer miniature game, Warhammer 40K, etc., etc. So there is a card game that we discussed a couple of weeks ago that is Blood Angel, Death Angel, I think. That is in English, this is a Death Angel, I think. This is a space hull. We are on the space hull. We are fighting genocrites, killing monsters, having fun. This game is not the best card game ever designed. It is like a so-so card game. I would never ever play it if it is not IP. But because I love IP, because I love shooting aliens from on this space hulk, I'm playing this game a lot, even though it is not a really great game. So
Oh,
once again, I disagree.
yeah.
If you love IP and the game is so-so, you will have fun if you really love the IP.
Yeah, I mean, I got to disagree with you guys. I really, I will look at a game if it's got an IP I love. I'm not going to look at every Lord of the Rings game out there. Let's face it, right? And I'm going to even look at every Star Trek game. I mean, I don't. There's not as many coming out, and it's another big fan of that. But every Lord of the Rings game, I want to look at that game. But if it's not a good game, or it's a so-so game, well, that'll be my look, and then I'm done. I'm not going to buy it, and I'm going to move on.
And
So
I'm gonna
I definitely do it the other way.
I'm gonna bring it to another level. I
Oh
think
God,
IP is the equivalent of art. Good art is going to bring eyes onto a game.
true.
It's going to get purchased uh, more often because it's beautiful. IP is going to do the same thing. It's going to bring eyes onto the game. Whether the game is successful or not is then the second step. Once it is in people's hands, is it a good game? Do they want to play it over and over?
Awesome. Awesome. What a discussion we just had here. And of course, because we had this long discussion, we went long. So right now, Corey, quickly, what do you have for us this week for the question?
This week, it's nothing but hate mail for Ignacy, who said that the viewers are terrible.
What do you think about that, viewers?
All right, my question for this week is we are so cult of the new in board games, definitely. But what is the oldest game that you still recommend to people and why that game? So we're
Hmm.
looking for that balance of the oldest good game to try to dispel cult of the new to a
Right,
certain extent.
right. What do you guys feel?
Yes,
Go ahead. Ignacy.
I tend to bring to game sessions to the game club some older games because it's a snobby. I show that I'm in the industry for a long time and I want to surprise people with some older games. The hits that are mind blowing for them because these games are long sold out is Condottiere, the old game from Fantasy Flight
Oh
Games, very
yeah.
smart area
Good,
control
good
game.
game, good game.
Yeah, and Euphrates and Tigris from Rainer Knizia. It had a lot of re-implementation, but the classic is from the old times. And the other Rainer Knizia old game Samurai. It is the same period.
Yep.
I bring them, and everyone is wow, and I say, well, this game is 20 years old, but still amazing.
Absolutely. That's Samurai's a very
And
good choice in that.
I'm also going to say here, let's not talk about folk games. Let's not bring up cribbage or bridge or yes, they're
No,
Yeah,
very,
yeah,
very
yeah.
old and people love them.
Hobby games.
Hobby
hobby.
games. I'm gonna say Bonanza. I put out Bonanza all the time. I think it's still
Awesome.
an amazing, amazing card game from the late 90s.
Great answer.
Um, Love it, love it.
It plays 7 people. I mean,
Yeah,
and even more, I think, with some of the expansions that I just got
it's
at
not
BGG Con.
great with two people. However,
Yeah, but
Uwe designed a two-player only version of
right,
Bonanza, which I think is
right.
spectacular.
Yeah, Bonanza, great game. I don't want to be derivative here, but Bonanza is definitely going to be up there. Alhambra, one, like the granddaddy of tile
Perfect.
placement,
Yeah.
the granddaddy of, like tile placement games. You're making synergies between your tiles and stuff like that. You're creating an Alhambra, a beautiful estate. Um, Acquire. Maybe the oldest game
Oh,
has been mentioned.
sure.
1960s, I think, is
I think,
still the
yeah.
best like stock ownership business related kind of game and still played at the World Series of Board Gaming. That's how much respect that we have for that. Great.
63.
63. So, everybody out there, Ignacy has just created a thread because I saw him post the link right there. He's on top of things. Please go to the guild on BGG and find our play testing thread for this question and post your answer there, please. Now, the final scoring. Thank you so much for listening and help us spread the word about this podcast by telling your friends to download Board Games Insider wherever they like to get their podcasts or watch Board Games Insider on the Podfather Gaming YouTube channel. If you want to be part of this podcast, you can. Just go to our guild on Board Game Geek and first become a member if you're not. Ask us questions for strategy and tactics and answer our question to you from the playtesting segment. You can do this very simply. Just make sure it's in the correct part of the guild. Help us make this podcast better by engaging in the guild. Please interact with us on social media. It's the same handle on all the platforms. So if you like Facebook, X, Instagram, TikTok, Blue Sky, YouTube, you can find us at Board Games Insider, Portal Games US, Podfather Gaming, Dice Tower Dish, Play to Z Games, Above Board TV. And just choose the social media or mediums of your choice, and you'll be speaking directly to us. And by the way, the websites are the same. We'd love to see you in person at an upcoming convention, which we're now in the low season. So if you do find us there at a convention, you hear us talk about it, come up to us, hang out with us. We would love to chat. And I've been giving out little gifts to people as if they do that. Board Games Insider was professionally edited by Jake Thompson. Thank you, Jake, for being part of the team. And also that great voice you hear doing the intro, the outro, and the in-between segments is that of Ray Greenlee. And he can be contacted to do your voiceover work at raygreenleevoiceover Gentlemen, this brings us to the end of another great episode of Board Games Insider. 399 episodes. Next week is a biggie,
Woo!
400. But before we get there, any little items that you want to report on?
I just
Corey?
thought it would be interesting to report on a large corporate takeover story that's not Diamond Games.
With
So
some
this is
with geek implications, I guess. Not board game implications, but geek implications. Go ahead.
yeah. It's geeky, but it's not directly board game, although I think ripples will come over into
Mhm.
board games. So Netflix is in process of purchasing Warner Brothers. This is an enormous thing. The price tag, I believe, is 83 billion.
Something like that.
But there is turmoil in the waters because Skydance Paramount is trying to implement a hostile takeover, convincing the shareholders of Warner Brothers that they should reject this sale
Yep.
and instead sell for more money to Skydance Paramount.
So this like I'm having PTSD flashbacks of my Wall Street and even my early Wall Street IT days where hostile takeovers were the big thing. Now it's like corporations go to another corporation. Say, we'd like to buy you. Let's negotiate this. Let's not bring this in the public. Then they just announce, okay, it's a $75 billion deal or a $500 million deal, whatever it is. This is big. There were competing offers. There were much negotiation going on in a standard way. And all of a sudden, Warner Brothers just says, we're going with Netflix. And Paramount is saying, screw you guys. We're going to go to the board, to the shareholders, and we're going to buy this thing at a better price. Why the price didn't work out initially and now they think that they can do it, we don't know. But we're going to hear a little bit more about this as it goes on. Why are we talking about this? Well, it's fun to talk about business things besides Diamond all the time, right? Which we have not mentioned on this episode until Corey said it. But really,
Diamond!
there's a lot of geek stuff owned by Warner Brothers. Let's talk about that. All of the DC stuff is there. Oh, the Lord of the Rings stuff is in there. So there's a lot of stuff that they've got their fingers on that's going to affect geekdom. And if nothing else, we're all a bunch of geeks, board game geeks, but probably really love all those dumb IPs that we've been talking about too.
There's other implications here. Skydance Paramount has Jared Kushner on the board, so there's political sides to this as well.
Wow, that's
It's
pretty
crazy.
interesting. So,
By the way, these articles are off of ICV2, so they're pretty easy to find and a lot of interesting side facts on this.
They're all over New York Times, every CNN, whatever you like to listen to, you'll be hearing this is going to go on for a while. And I have no inclination to say who's going to win. Netflix, who's got very deep pockets these days and lots of cash hanging out, or is it going to be another big entity, right? Paramount Skydance, as you mentioned, obviously a huge company as well. So who's going to win this fight for geekdom control and other things? We'll see. All right, we went ultra long here. Thank you guys for being here with me. And we'll see everybody here next week on Board Games Insider. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
See you later, everyone.